Hello, everybody. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, giving me just a little bit of your time. However you may be listening, I appreciate you. As always, before we get started, platforms. The places in which that you can find us and you can reach us and you can listen to us. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Search Hot News Talk Radio. We are the first thing that comes up. And check us out on Facebook. We respond to you. We respond to questions and comments that you may have regarding either any of the stories that we post there or anything talked about on the air. Do you agree with David Tulis? Drop him a line. I'm sure he'd love to hear it. Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear that too. Also, you can find us on the TuneIn Radio app. It's free in the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Download it to your mobile device. Search Hot News Talk Radio. Give us a follow and press play. And you will have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go, as well as, and last but not least, hotnewstalkradio.com. We're streaming live 24/7. You can catch this show, The Herd with Colin Cowherd, Sean Hannity, The David Tulis Show. I mean, we have so many great shows for you. Binary with Russell, our news director. All of it. We've got it all for you. Mike Gallagher after this show from 7 to 9. Great conservative talk radio. Come on. We've got everything here. Now, we've got a loaded show. Because, of course, we're still in the post-Super Bowl week. There's still stories trickling in. And people criticizing Cam's effort, and Peyton Manning was at Disneyland being Peyton Manning. There's a video going around of Eli Manning's face, the look of horror when he realized that Peyton Manning was going to win 2 Super Bowls and they would be tied and Peyton would have the greater legacy. I mean, it's just so many things. So there's that. The Atlanta Hawks are confusing to me, as they are in trouble, not in trouble, in trouble. There's layers to the Atlanta Hawks, and SB Nation's Peachtree Hoops writer Brad Rowland, guest of this show, we're going to track him down. I mean, we're not going to be able to get him on today because I am both the host of the show and the producer of this show. So I've got to make all the phone calls and set up all the interviews myself. We all do it. And I've got to track down Brad, get Brad on the show to explain to me what's happening with the Atlanta Hawks. Because I looked at some numbers and they're disturbing to me. And I've been wanting to talk about the Hawks for a while. There's been a whole lot of news up and downs and just never really got enough time to really get into it. And of course, Bruce Pearl returns to Tennessee last night and he had his visit. He had his hometown visit disturbed by the team that he used to coach. So we have all of those things to get into. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And I'd like to start with the Atlanta Hawks. I have some thoughts on the Hawks because this season for Atlanta was supposed to be a season where they had an opportunity to contend for the Eastern Conference title. Okay, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last season, had a fight with the Cleveland Cavaliers, really gave all that they had in that series, but they had too many injuries to overcome. The injury to Damari Carroll and the injury to Corver, and it was just too much to overcome all at once. And in the end, they ended up losing that series. But you're like looking at the Hawks and you're going, okay, this team has got a lot to build upon moving into next season. In the offseason, they lose Damari Carroll, just not able to re-sign him to the money that he wanted. Damari Carroll, hey, to his eternal credit, bet on himself, signed a shorter contract, balled out, just played well, and got the bigger contract that he earned from the Toronto Raptors. So they weren't able to return him because you've got to try and keep the cap low so you can continue to try and build a unit. And so you're looking at a team like, okay, we're down Damari Carroll, but Damari Carroll is one guy. We shouldn't be crippled by the loss of one guy. And the Hawks haven't been crippled, okay? They're in the Eastern Conference. They're in the thick of things. They're fourth in the East. They've got a 30-24 record. They're only 4.5 games behind LeBron James and the Cavs. So it's not a doom and gloom report for the Atlanta Hawks. Like on paper, everything looks fine for them. But I'm hearing two things that are very disturbing to me for a team that you're looking at as an Eastern Conference title contender, because it's really only the Cavaliers that people are penciling in to the NBA Finals from the Eastern Conference. Nobody believes that any of these other teams in the East are capable of beating LeBron James and the Cavs. And the one team actually designed to do it because of their emphasis on team play and shooting, which we saw with Golden State how effective that was against Cleveland, was Atlanta. But two things are happening that are very, very disturbing if you're a Hawks fan. One, Kyle Korver is having a terrible year. It's awful. Statistically, this is his worst season in the last 5. Kyle Korver hasn't shot this poorly since 2009. He shot 38% in 2009, which is exactly what he's shooting this season. Last season, he was above 50% for most of the season, 47% by season's end. And I don't know what happened. He looks like a different guy. It's like he was Superman and somebody just locked him in a room with kryptonite for 24 hours. He came back and something doesn't look right. He did have off-season surgery. So there's that you've got to change your mechanics. You've got to change how it is that you shoot to compensate for your injury. And he obviously has done that. But there's another thing too. An interesting stat about Kyle Korver. I was reading an article by Kelly Dwyer, Ball Don't Lie, on Yahoo Sports, and I think Kyle Korver's overthinking his shot. He's shooting 38% from 3 this season, and the month of December and January were just brutal for him. He was 29% in December. He was 38% in January. But here's why I think that he's overthinking his shot. He shoots, and I was looking at the splits. If you go to basketballreference.com and click on splits, they just have a number of different scenarios that affect people's percentages, and you can see guys' percentages based on those scenarios. So I was looking at his percentages on 3 days of rest as opposed to 2 days of rest or less. Kyle Korver shoots worse when he's got 3 days of rest as opposed to when he's got 2 days of rest or fewer. So the more rest he has, the worse he shoots, which is so counterintuitive that it doesn't seem to make any sense on the face of it, except I think Kyle Korver is overthinking his shot. The Ball Don't Lie article by Kelly Dwyer referenced Kyle Korver mentioning that he breaks his shot down into about 20 parts. Okay, his shot mechanics, when he watches it back on film and when he goes to shoot, he breaks it down into about 20 moves. And then to try and gain a little advantage in percentage here and gain a little bit of advantage in percentage there, he tweaks it, which is interesting to me and also really awesome that he can do that. Except now it's not that awesome because he's not shooting well at all, and he might just be overthinking the mechanics. At some point, you've just got to let your body do the thing that you've been training it to do this whole time. If you get to the point where you think about stuff, you don't do it as well. They always say that to athletes. Don't act, react. Let your body do what it's been trained to do in practice. And I think he's overthinking it, and I think that that's leading to his record low in numbers. Granted that for this month in February, he's been shooting 50% so far. So maybe he's breaking out of this slump. I'd like to see that. I'd like to believe that. Also, he's got to play less minutes. When he plays greater than 30 minutes in a game, his numbers nosedive again. So you've just got to play him less time. And I don't know how you go about doing that. He is one of your more effective scorers still, even though he's having the down year. But that's one disturbing trend for the Atlanta Hawks. I see it. I do not like it at all. That's got to get right, or they're not beating anybody. They're not getting out of the first round. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. We're talking about the problems that the Atlanta Hawks have, and they are plentiful. The other problem that the Hawks have is not so much an on-the-court problem, but an off-the-court problem, a front office problem. If you recall, in the offseason, the Atlanta Hawks let go of Danny Ferry, their GM. Danny Ferry did a great job of putting that team together in the first place, but he wasn't working out well with Coach Bud. They weren't on the same page at all. And then Danny Ferry had those weird, borderline racist comments about Luol Deng, and the Hawks decided to let him go, right? So he's gone, but I thought he did a great job of putting that team together, and they have a problem now, right? You've got Al Horford. Al Horford is on the last year of a 5-year, $60 million contract, and he is going to demand the max. He's going to demand a max contract. His next contract is going to be, if the Hawks re-sign him, it's going to be 5 years, $132 million. They don't have the money for that. They don't have it at all. Not even close. Because if you want to try and stay anywhere near to under the cap and be able to re-sign players and to be able to sign new guys that are going to help your team function, you can't be stuck with Al Horford and $132 million. He's averaging 15 and 7. You just can't be caught holding that bag, okay? In the NBA, it's all about contracts. It's all about contracts. If you get stuck with the wrong contract, you will stink for years. In the NFL, you don't have guaranteed contracts. If you don't like a guy for your team, cut him. You don't like a guy in the NBA, you're stuck, okay? That contract is guaranteed all the way through, and I believe this Friday, all NBA contracts are guaranteed for the rest of the season. So even if they move him, they're on the hook to pay him this season. But some team is going to want his expiring contract. The Hawks can't afford to let Al Horford go for nothing. There is a team out there that's going to sign him to the max. I don't think that you can justify giving it to him, but big men are so hard to find in the NBA today. Someone's going to give it to him. Someone is going to give Al Horford max money. And probably, I think someone on Reddit was saying Portland is a good fit. I think Portland is a really good fit for him. They need a big man. Look, they've already got McCollum and Lillard at the guard positions. That's already covered for them. They need size. They need scoring down low. They could throw money at Al Horford. That's a good trading partner. Like, you're looking at teams with positions of need with that, and you're the Hawks. You're potentially putting Al Horford on the trading block. I heard that he was on the trading block, and I've heard that Jeff Teague was on the trading block. And Jeff Teague must also think he's on the trading block because he did an interesting thing the other day on social media. And again, you can't read too much into this stuff, but Jeff Teague deleted all of his Atlanta Hawks-related posts. All of his Hawks pictures, all of those things got deleted. And it became a very generic, very neutral Instagram page very quickly. And again, you can't read too much into that. But if Jeff Teague is starting to hear that he may not be a Hawk, and the rumors are that he and Horford are on the trading block, then where does this team go? You're blowing up and starting over. Teague is a huge part of your team, and Horford is your best big. Horford is your best big, so where do you go from there? Seems a little bit early to be blowing up the team, but you can't let Horford leave for nothing. Okay? Horford has to be traded. You don't have a choice, which is unfortunate because I don't know how you replace that production. I don't know who you replace it with. Horford is a near 7-footer. He operates well around the basket, but he can step out to 15, 18 feet, drain the long jumper, stretch your defense out. There are a lot of teams that'll want that, and it's going to be interesting to see as we get closer to the NBA trade deadline what moves teams are making. But at the same time, I'm very, very worried about the Hawks and their postseason chances because they were a team that you looked at and thought, we can contend with the Cavaliers. We really can. And they can't. If they trade Teague and or Horford, they can't. Okay? And I like Schroeder a lot. Teague dropped 24 the other night and made it look easy. So I don't like this team without Jeff Teague. Unless you can find a way to replace that production, I don't know where you do because teams aren't letting go of their big guys. So it's not like you're going to be able to trade Horford and Teague for another solid big. Millsap has been in and out of the lineup all season long with injuries. How do you replace that? Where do you go for that? I have no clue. And it's very perplexing. I like to track Brad Rowland down and ask him some questions. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. We're going to move along here a little bit because I have a Tennessee thought. Every now and then I do, because I am a nerd and I watch game film. Okay. I just have it saved on my computer. Leave me alone. I watch game film by myself. I just have clips here. Anytime I find some time in the day, I'll rewatch, Tennessee versus Oklahoma. I'll rewatch Tennessee versus Florida, because those were the two big ones to me that defined that Tennessee season as a team that could have really made a statement to, okay, they're just really good. And interestingly, I look at Tennessee and I see Butch Jones do something that is almost the reverse of what everyone does. Like, is Butch Jones secretly the world's greatest contrarian? Is Butch Jones the greatest hipster of all time? That hipsters and people who are contrarians for its own sake, what they do is you just oppose people for no good reason. If everybody's into rock music, you've got one guy that's not into rock music, and not because he hates rock music, because that would make sense. He's opposed to rock music because everybody else just likes it. That's the reason why he doesn't like it. Okay. It's Colin Cowherd the other day had a bit where his producer came on and talked about how he didn't like Paul Rudd. Everybody in America likes Paul Rudd, and his producer didn't like Paul Rudd. And it seemed to me that if you don't like Paul Rudd, the reason why you don't like Paul Rudd is because everybody else likes Paul Rudd. He's a good actor, okay? No one is pegging him up there with the transcendent actors of our time, the Denzel Washingtons and Leonardo DiCaprio's of the generation. He's just a good actor. Why can't he just be a good actor? But no, you've got random contrarian that just does the opposite of what everybody else does just because. I don't like that guy. Guy annoys me. But Butch Jones sometimes coaches like he's that guy. Butch Jones, probably more so than anyone I've seen, coaches like he's that guy. Because where I see most coaches are running the football and have trouble sticking with the run, they'll abandon the run and just start passing the ball a ton, mess their team up because they're passing so much. The clock is not moving. They're not completing passes. The defense is, licking their chops, waiting for a sack or an interception. You got to keep things mixed up. But it's easy to fall into the trap of passing the football a ton because it's just easy to gain yards passing the football. Why wouldn't you? That's the spread offense of today's college football teams. But Butch Jones does the reverse. And I don't know that I've seen another coach do this. Let us know on Facebook and Twitter if you disagree with this. I haven't seen another coach do this quite as often as Butch has. Or let me know at my personal Twitter account, @SportsCloud. That's how you tweet at me. Let us know. Because Butch Jones will have a first half where his receivers are catching the ball. They're on fire. The offense is awesome. It's on pace. It's in rhythm. And then in the second half, they won't throw the ball. They'll hardly throw it. They'll barely throw it at all. And you're just like, man, what happened? Did the receivers all get sick at halftime? And it happened. The reason why that stands out to me is because I'm looking at the Oklahoma game and I'm looking at the Florida game. And the two things that stand out to me in those games is that Butch really went away from the passing game. You ran the ball a lot. And I understand, okay, Josh Dobbs, you can run with him. Kamara's a great change of pace. Jalen Hurd, you know what he's capable of. But to get away from the pass that easily is the most contrary thing I've ever seen. And it wasn't working. I think that's the thing. Like, if you're a contrarian and it works, then I guess there's nothing to say. Like, you talk about Chip Kelly in the NFL and how he ran his offense differently than everybody else in the league does. But the man went to back-to-back 10-6 seasons. Okay. I mean, it was working up until last season. It was working. But with Butch, he gets away from the pass. He gets hell-bent on running the ball. He gets hell-bent on just being so conservative and not taking the shots down the field and really putting pressure on a defense. It's just weird. It's just weird. So that's just my random Tennessee Volunteer thought that I had from the football season, just rewatching the tape. Let me know what you think, because that is a really odd thing to do. It really is. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. And on the other side, we'll be talking about Tennessee versus Auburn last night. That game got out of hand. And in a jiffy, Bruce Pearl. What did he have to say?
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
What's going on?
Get a free $20 gas gift card. Free. That's right. A free $20 gas gift card. Just tell Rick at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds on Brainerd Road you heard the offer on Hot News Talk Radio. A $20 gas gift card for free when you tell Rick you heard it on Hot News Talk Radio. Buy or sell 30 grams of gold or 10 ounces of silver and get a free $20 gas gift card. It's the Valentine's Day sale at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds on Brainerd Road. 60, 70, 80% off when you buy rings, pendants, bracelets, and necklaces. Cash, and more cash. When you sell all week, buy, sell, trade at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds on Brainerd Road. Mention you heard this at Hot News Talk Radio and get a free $20 gas gift card. Free. Cash. This huge Valentine's Day sale's going on now. Don't miss it. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds Valentine's Day sale. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
You need a place for your party or maybe a wedding reception for 100 or even more. Maybe you'd like to host a small trade show for your business and you need a very affordable venue. Are you looking for a place for your birthday gala or services to start up a church? Look no further than the Hidden Gem in Hickson. It's an overlooked, newly appointed reception hall right here in Hickson, Tennessee. Big space, small price. That's right, big space, small price. Call Mr. Chu and ask for a tour. 316-7388. That's 423-316-7388. He'll tell you a lot more about the venue. Rent this venue today. Just call 423-316-7388 and ask for Mr. Chu.
Hello, I'm Mike Little, candidate for criminal court judge with 25 years of criminal court experience, which makes me the most qualified candidate. The experience I have gained from handling over 4,000 cases in state and federal court has equipped me with the ability to be fair, impartial, and independent. As your next criminal court judge, I will focus on keeping Hamilton County safe. I view this position as a public service and will strive to improve the daily operation of court. I humbly ask for your trust and vote in the March 1st Republican primary.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mike Little. Barry Abbott, Treasurer.
Lay your burdens down at the Woodhouse. Leave all your worries at the door.
The perfect gift for the perfect match. Surprise her with a Woodhouse gift card. Call us today at 423-443-4478 or visit us online at chattanooga.woodhousespas.com.
Expect some passing clouds through the nighttime. Can't rule out a passing flurry. Most of those staying to our north, though. Lows lower to middle 20s. For Thursday, a pretty good day. Some sunshine, a little warmer highs, lower 40s. Continue dry. The warming trend continues Friday back into the upper 40s. The halls of Abba's house will be alive with the sound of music as the middle school choir presents Getting to Know the Sound of Music February 12th and 13th at 7 p.m. Tickets just $5. More at abbashouse.com. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A Chattanooga postal worker has been arrested and charged by federal authorities with sexual exploitation of a child following a TBI sting operation in North Chattanooga, where they began monitoring websites like Meet Me and Kick. Prosecutor Tara Bay said that they were looking for adults who were trying to contact teens for sexual purposes. Police say the suspect thought he was talking to a young girl when actually he was talking to 2 TBI agents. Police arrested Jason Grandy on Sunday for allegedly invading his neighbor's house wielding a knife and harassing their neighbor's guest. The man and his wife, who own the home, say that they asked Grandy to leave many times. When he refused, the wife slammed him in the head with a cooking pan. He suffered from one laceration, which was cleared by EMS when they arrived. He was then taken to the Hamilton County Jail for processing. Authorities say that he was highly intoxicated. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Texas A&M, there is a story reported by the AG Times. Guess that means the Aggie Times, that it's breaking down basically all of the destructive nature of the Aggies program during Johnny Manziel's time there. That we talked about how he was enabled, but there weren't exactly a ton of examples floating around besides the few that we knew. You know, he had the parking ticket, and then he went to Twitter and basically blasted the school, and he got slapped on the wrist for that, which I think at any other school, that's a possible benching. To be honest with you, that's a possible benching. Johnny Football gets a slap on the wrist, and then he gets in trouble with the NCAA. He signs a bunch of memorabilia, to make money off of it, which, cannot state this enough, shouldn't be illegal, but it is. And once you know that those are the rules, then guess what? Can't do it. Okay? And he got suspended for half of a game, which is that's not a punishment. Okay? Just own it. Just own it. That's not a punishment. But this one, the division here of this locker room over players having respect, players not having respect, began with Johnny Manziel being treated as a favorite, and he's being treated as a favorite, and he's being treated as a favorite over other players. Like the preferential treatment was so obvious. Okay, and it's not only that, but nobody in that school is on the same page. Nobody on that football team is on the same page. And here's the thing. The report says that players did not necessarily respect Spav, which is he's the offensive coordinator. Did not necessarily respect him. The division would filter into the locker room. It was fairly obvious throughout the year that there was a Kyler versus Kyle camp. Kyle Allen and Kyler Murray. People knew, okay, and OC, he favored Kyle Allen, okay? So that's how you lose Kyler Murray, because of that division in the locker room there. And then Allen gets dinged up later on in the season. You've got to go with Murray. And it's just, you watch this whole thing unfold, this incompetence, and it's unclear. Okay, it is very unclear for what purpose this favoritism, what did that serve? You're the offensive coordinator. If you like a guy, just pick him. Okay, what is this? So that is its own rabbit trail, and there's so many details flooding in. So we'll get to that story more tomorrow. Okay, that one literally just slid in onto my phone with just all of the extra details that you could see there, and boy, it's dysfunctional over there. Kevin Sumlin, he's on the hottest seat of all time. The hottest seat of all time. But if we're going to talk about coaches who are on a very hot seat, Hugh Freeze is suddenly, very, very suddenly on the hot seat. Hugh Freeze, the head coach of Ole Miss. Okay, Ole Miss has been cited for a number of NCAA violations. 13 out of 28 rules, to be exact, 9 of which occurred underneath Hugh Freeze, okay, during Hugh Freeze's tenure as the head coach. And I expect some statement to be released soon about how Hugh Freeze was not aware, how he didn't know, and how could this happen, because that's what they all say. And I'm tired of hearing it. It's one of the great lies on earth, right up there with my Facebook or Twitter account got hacked. That's another one. That is right up there with that lie. You know, right there with Bill Clinton during the Monica Lewinsky scandal. That is another all-time great lie that just got run out there, and when nobody believed it. Here's the thing with these lies: like, nobody is sitting here believing you. I have no idea what you thought was going to happen. Now, I'm not saying Hugh Freeze has said anything yet. I'm saying just wait. It's going to happen. It always does, without fail. The coach always says something about how they didn't know this was happening, okay? And you can say that from SMU with Larry Brown this past season. You can say that with Jim Boeheim over in Syracuse. You can say that with Rick Pitino over in Louisville. You could say that with SMU back during the Pony Excess days when they were just straight up paying players when they weren't supposed to. You could say it for all of those things. And what did all of those coaches say? Well, I didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? How on earth could you not know? You're the head coach. Everybody answers to you. How could you not know? The only way that you don't know is if you don't want to know. If you would just like to have that plausible deniability, in which case, while sure, legally, loophole-tastic, still morally dubious. Still very wrong to do. Okay? So the Mississippi's football program, according to the Associated Press, was cited by the NCAA in nearly half of the 28 rules violations levied against the school in the notice of allegations the university recently received. A person with knowledge of the investigation said that 13 allegations involved the football program, and 9 of those occurred during current coach Hugh Freeze's tenure. The person spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because the investigation, of course, is still ongoing. The violations are a mix of level 1, which the NCAA considers the most serious, and level 2 and level 3. Many have already been self-reported by the school because, of course, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, you report these things yourself and give yourself the slap on the wrist so that the NCAA doesn't come by like a steamroller and squash you. Basically, the analogy from yesterday was you have a child, okay? Say you've got a son. His son's name is Tommy. And you tell Tommy, don't you go and eat any cookies from that cookie jar. And Tommy says, okay, Dad, and you leave. When you come back, you see the cookie jar is open. You see there are no cookies in the cookie jar, and there's just crumbs and chocolate all over Tommy's face. So you know he ate the cookies. All right? And you tell Tommy, you know what? It's time for a spanking. Or time to be grounded, or however it is that you punish your kids. And then Tommy says to you, don't worry, Dad. I'm going to spank myself. I'm going to ground myself. And Tommy does this because he hopes that by spanking himself, you won't snatch up the belt and actually spank him. This would never work because that doesn't make any sense. You can't levy a punishment on yourself, like a self-imposed punishment, which, by the way, who gets punished? Because the coach seems to not really get punished. In any of these situations that happen, the coach doesn't seem to get punished. I notice. The NCAA, oh, look, the NCAA is coming after Oregon and Chip Kelly, and then Chip Kelly bounces to the NFL to coach the Eagles. Oh, look, the NCAA is coming after Pete Carroll, and the University of Southern California, and Pete Carroll bounces to go coach the Seahawks, whereupon he wins the Super Bowl. Like, who is getting punished for all of this? Because it seems like the students who can't just bounce to the NFL just get caught. They end up carrying on some postseason ban that they either have to choose to transfer or live with not being able to participate in a bowl game or in the NCAA tournament or whatever the case is. It's always the students that seem to get caught paying for the punishment that the school gives itself so that NCAA doesn't have to. And the only thing more ridiculous than the idea of your son Tommy grounding himself so that you won't ground him for real. Like, Tommy's like, look, Dad, I'm going to ground myself for a week because he knows that if you ground him, you'll ground him for a month. The only thing more ridiculous than that is that the NCAA actually rolls that way. If you impose a punishment on yourself, the NCAA doesn't really come after you anymore. They just kind of put it down. Like, okay, yeah, you got it. Got what? You didn't get a punishment. You can't trust the criminal to punish himself. You can't have murderers out on the street. They shoot a person and go, you know what, government, I'm going to actually jail myself in my house. And the government just looks at that person and goes, oh, yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, go ahead. We're not going to send you to real jail because you're responsible. You're punishing yourself. What on earth is that? That's the NCAA for you. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And we understand that they've had some turnover and that they've fired some people. Okay, so they don't have the firepower that they used to, but you're the governing body of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. How on earth are you not punishing people who are breaking your rules? It's like you can punish yourself. That's fine. We're still going to punish you. Like, Tommy, you can ground yourself for a week. I'm still grounding you for another 3. Like, that's fine. I'm not going to take the right to punish yourself away if you want to truly be responsible about it. But that can't be the only punishment you get, is the one that you decided was cool for yourself. Who learns anything from that? Nobody learns anything from that. You've just got a bunch of schools violating rules and trying to dodge the death penalty. It's crazy that Ole Miss is already starting to impose penalties on themselves for what? They're starting to impose penalties on themselves. It's a ludicrous concept for a school that you've got 28 violations levied against you, okay? And it's not even that the NCAA messed up and you were really only guilty of like 1 or 2 of those things. You were guilty of 13 of 28. That's almost half. Okay? And you can't blame it on the last coach because 9 of those are you, Coach Freeze. 9 of those are you. How on earth are you allowed to punish yourself? So Ole Miss has 90 days to respond to the notice of allegations. The school officials and legal counsel, according to this Associated Press article, have not released the notice because they believe the documents should remain confidential while the investigation continues. See, left tackle Laramie Tunsil was suspended 7 games during the past season after the NCAA ruled he received improper benefits, including the use of 3 loaner cars over a 6-month period, which, like, this is the other side of the coin, okay? And it feels like I'm playing both sides of the fence, but I'm really not. On the one hand, the school is breaking rules, imposing punishments on themselves that are cupcake punishments because they don't want the actual NCAA to come down on them. But the rules that they're breaking, bogus. Bogus. If you could pay players, if you could give them a stipend, and look, I didn't want to get into this conversation today, but there is no way to not do. Any time this comes up, it just has to be said. If there is a way for you to pay players, to compensate them for what they do, which is sacrificing their bodies for entertainment and for the profit of the school. Okay, and I've got a buddy, he's an accounting major. The NCAA is a nonprofit organization, but he likes to let me know all the time. Nonprofit doesn't mean you don't make money. And I think we have that misconception here in America that we look at the charitable organizations like a Goodwill and say, oh, that place is nonprofit. Isn't that a good organization? Meanwhile, the CEO of Goodwill is making bank, and there's still people who are doing without. And you would think all of that money would go to those in need. That when you donate your stuff to Goodwill, all of that stuff would go to help somebody, but it doesn't always go to help somebody. Somebody's making money because nonprofit doesn't mean that you don't make money. Nonprofit doesn't mean that you don't make a ton of money. Okay, that you don't have a six-figure paycheck. It doesn't mean that. And all nonprofit means is that the costs of the things that you are doing, when you list them, they're all justified. So if you can justify paying a CEO 6 figures a year, then you can still be a nonprofit technically, so long as he doesn't make more than that number, the justified number. So the NCAA is a nonprofit organization. So what? So what? They're a nonprofit organization, but they make money, and they make a lot of money off of the backs of unpaid labor. Okay, so these kids are getting violations for the school because if you're a kid, okay, you're 18, 19 years old, and the school is going to offer you a loaner car, you're going to say no? Are you going to say no? The school is being irresponsible for offering this to you in the first place, and then has the gall to take away not just the car from you, but the actual playing time from you and your teammates, because you know that everybody wasn't getting a loaner car. The long snapper wasn't getting a loaner car. The kicker wasn't getting a loaner car. Right? So one or two guys bring the whole house down on everybody. And it's just so unfair and so fixable. Give the kids some money. Just a little bit. Okay, I've done the go to college and don't have a car thing. It sucks. It's not fun at all when you want to go to Taco Bell. Taco Bell. I'm not talking about someplace fancy. I'm not talking about going out to have fun. Taco Bell. And you have to bum rides off of people. It's not fun. It isn't. There couldn't be anything less fun than that. Maybe a root canal. Maybe. Being the guy on a college campus without a car is one of the worst things ever. And here they are offering him a car. They didn't give him a car, like what used to happen back in the day. Okay, Eric Dickerson was once offered a car. Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, you guys were offered cars. No, he was loaned a car. He was loaned a car. And that is a violation. There's a problem. This is a huge problem. You've just got a bunch of kids doing stuff for free and giving them anything at all. Not even monetary compensation. A loaned car is enough for a rule breaking that the school is imposing penalties on itself. And of course, the penalties that they're imposing come at the detriment of the very same unpaid students to keep an NCAA off the back of the school that's not right to have created the rule in the first place. And it's the snake devouring its own tail. It just continues. It just gets worse every time you look at it. And of course, ESPN and CBS, they're all upping the ante and making money every time they sign a new TV contract. They just make more money. There's never been less money made on a new TV contract signed, even adjusting for inflation. Every time they sign a new deal, they just make more money. It's like printing money. And the people who benefit not one bit, they're the ones that don't get paid. It's weird. And it's weird that we're okay with that. Okay. And I do not want to hear that X student is getting an education. So forget about it. Okay. First off, everybody is not getting a scholarship. Okay. Schools have a finite amount of scholarships that they're handing out to kids to play sports. If everybody were getting a full ride, your argument would make sense. But everybody's not getting a full ride. Some people are getting partial. Some people are getting none. If you walked on, you're not getting a scholarship. You paid to be there. Now you're just paying to hurt yourself playing football. Okay, not everybody is Leonard Fournette, Braxton Miller. It's insane. It's actually insane that we're okay with that. Okay, I'm not going to take the overly harsh slavery angle. That just seems, that is extreme. It's not slavery because you can stop playing basketball if you want to, but why would you want to? You've got an opportunity to go pro. And every guy and young woman in college athletics thinks that they've got a shot. Okay, I mean, unless you're playing field hockey and you just know, like, okay, there's nobody that you know sitting around watching field hockey. So you knew when you got here, you were not going to be going professional in field hockey. Okay, like the overwhelming amount of you're not going pro in lacrosse. It's a fun game. It does look exciting, but it's not generating the money that March Madness is generating. You knew you weren't going to go pro in lacrosse. Okay, you just knew. But everybody else, you think you might have a chance to go pro. You've just got an institution of higher learning exploiting your dreams, which is wholly unfair in every sense of the idea. And I wish I had more concrete numbers for you, but I didn't plan to go down that particular tangent, but it just makes me upset. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And man, the fact that student athletes don't get paid, it's the most angering thing in sports. If, honestly, college sports, there's still going to be a lot wrong with it. If you paid the kids, you'd fix half the problems. Easily. Okay, you wouldn't have Louisville taking recruits to strip clubs and to see prostitutes. You wouldn't have those things because you would just be like, okay, look, I can offer you this X amount of money based on the amount of money we've generated from sports. You're a bigger school, you can offer more money. You're a smaller school, you can't. But at least the students are being compensated in some way. Meanwhile, their coaches make millions and millions of dollars. So I didn't leave myself much time to talk about Tennessee versus Auburn last night. Tennessee wins that game convincingly, 71-45. Rick Barnes getting revenge against Auburn and Bruce Pearl. And what they did was fantastic. You got 30 points off the bench, which is incredible. I thought Armani Moore, punter junior, were going to have a bigger impact on this game. And I did say so early on, but I was wrong. I believe they scored about 4 and 5 points respectively. Honestly, it was the vets off the bench. It was Robert Hubbs III and Devin Balkman. They were playing out of their minds. And Auburn is as cold as ice. Is anybody colder than Auburn right now? It's pretty cold outside. Weather's pretty bad, so let me use this time to say stay safe. But is anything colder than Auburn right now? I think Auburn is colder than our almost snow that we had. My gosh. And Tennessee breezes past Auburn 71-45. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You've been listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, as well as hotnewstalkradio.com. Remember, everybody, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at sabrinarealty.com.
What are you going to get your sweetie for Valentine's Day? I'm going to Carter Shooting Supply.
Carter Shooting Supply.
That's right, Carter Shooting Supply. They're having a great sale on all of their guns right now, and it's name brands like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Springfield, their AR-15s. They've got the hottest gun in the land right now, the Sky 9mm. Man, it comes in all the cool colors. If you're an Alabama fan, they've got crimson. If you're a Big Orange,